was racked by violence, civil war, and chaos. In the middle of it all, waiting for a chance to seize power, was Joseph Mobutu. That chance came in 1965. With the Congo desperate for leadership, Mobutu declared himself president.
He was a good behind-the-scenes player. He was bright. He had managed to position himself well in the military. He had excellent relations with the Belgians and with the Americans, and it was easy for him to project himself as the unifier and the one who would better serve the interests of the former colonial power and eventually the United States.
While outwardly Mobutu nodded to U.S. interests, at home he assured the Congolese people he would restore honor and prosperity to their struggling nation.
This is a young idealist who comes to power, thinks he's doing the right thing. It's the movement about saving Congo from oppression, from the colonial yoke. Those of us who grew up under Mobutu, we had a great sense of our own identity. Congolese, Zaïrois, a great sense of pride.
A charismatic leader, Mobutu's personal style was native chic. He was obsessed with leopards and laid leopard skin rugs all over his sprawling palace. He owned 7 different spotted hats, which became his trademark. Mobutu also launched a very public campaign to revive Congolese culture. He began by changing the name of the country to Zaire, and then by changing his own name.
It was part of a drive to rediscover his African roots and Congo's African roots, and reject Western influences and say, this is our nation, we are masters of our fate. So he stopped being known as Joseph Désiré Mobutu, and he used to call himself Mobutu Sese Seko Kuku Bendu Wazabanga, which means the cockerel that goes from chicken to chicken, from conquest to conquest, leaving fire in his wake.
But Mobutu didn't stop there. Once he had a taste of power, he was hooked.
People would wear Mobutu on their body, these shirts that had his face, and they would chant their songs of praise.
Next thing you know, church hymns are being translated into Mobutu's hymn. And I'm meaning literally, where it says God, they say Mobutu.
But for the majority of Congolese citizens, life was better than it had been under the Belgians. Copper replaced rubber as the mainstay of Zaire's economy, and the country thrived. Mobutu showed his people how great they could be, and then he showed the world. In 1974, he invited sports heroes Muhammad Ali and George Foreman to Zaire for their famous boxing match, Rumble in the Jungle.
The fight was all about promoting Congo, Zaire. This was a country to reckon with, Africa all over the world. A leader who decides, I'm going to put not Congo just in the African map, I'm going to put Congo on the world's map. Everybody will know where Congo is.
The world saw a new Zairean stadium and once-in-a-lifetime boxing match. What they didn't see was a careful facade erected by Mobutu in the weeks before the event. Wanting to ensure the foreign press and dignitaries got the best impression of his new Zaire, Mobutu reportedly rounded up hundreds of the city's delinquents. Without charge or trial, they were thrown in a jail cell rumored to be right beneath the seats in the same stadium where the boxing match was held.
Mobutu put into place a totalitarian system of control that in so many ways affected the life of every citizen. And awful things could happen every day of the week, but as long as you're exporting this massive quantity of primary resources, you can still use that money to grease the wheels and to soften the resistance around the country. And that's something that Mobutu was really able to do into the 1970s because of the copper prices.
But what Mobutu boasted in charm and patriotism, he lacked in experience. When the copper market collapsed, Zaire's economy imploded.
The CIA station chief, who knew Mobutu very well, said he was politically brilliant, but he was an economic spastic. All he knew was how a tribal chief operates. And a tribal chief operates by handing out presents, by keeping the loyalty of his subjects, by handing out envelopes full of cash.
With the economy in shambles, Mobutu needed money to stay in power and maintain his loyalties. But he had no idea how to make it, so he decided to steal it, creating a system of fraud at the highest level of government that became known as kleptocracy.
A kleptocrat is somebody who just can't stop picking things up that don't belong to him, and I do think it's a pretty accurate description of Mobutu. He needed to have a cut of everything. Any company that operated in Congo in those years was paying off the president. And if that's what the boss is doing, that's what all the underlings do as well. So there was this insidious culture of corruption that spread right down to every layer of society. So it was rotten through, right down to the core.
Even Mobutu's own army was denied a salary and was forced to operate primarily through bribes.
The army was busy trying to survive on the back of the population. This is the legacy of Mobutu. They are not paid salaries. And during Mobutu's time, this was a system of government. And that's why the term kleptocracy was coined. Rule through theft, rule through corruption.
Mobutu was spinning out of control, but there was no one inside the Congo able to stop him, and no one outside willing to. During Mobutu's reign, $3 billion in Western aid flowed into the Congo.
The West's support was basically premised on the entire rationale of the Cold War years, which is, he may be a bastard, but he's our bastard. And we can't afford to lose a big, potentially influential country like Congo. We can't afford for it to go to communist. So let's keep in his good books, let's keep paying him the money that he wants, even though we know he's stealing it.
It was a cruel game. Everyone knew exactly what they wanted out of it. He was using them, they were using him, and both were happy about it. And both were responsible for the suffering, the tremendous suffering of the Congolese that continues to this date.
By the mid-1980s, Mobutu's rule went from corrupt to deadly. Thousands of Congolese were dying from record rates of starvation, malnutrition, and preventable disease. Child mortality rates were among the highest in Africa. Average income was just $150 per year. One villager remarked that the only businesses doing well in the Congo were coffin makers. While the wealth from Congo's natural resources could have easily met the population's needs, most of it never reached them. Instead, profits from gold, diamonds, and cobalt went straight into Mobutu's Swiss bank account. In 1986, his net worth was estimated at $4 billion, a sum that, had he applied it to his own country, would have wiped out its entire national debt.
I think Mobutu has acquired a terrible reputation for brutality, but to my mind, he should be vilified for a completely different reason, which is that he destroyed the hopes and dreams of every Congolese by destroying their economy. And I think the damage he did his people, every single level of society was affected by the fact that he destroyed that economy.
Stories again leaked out to the world about exploitation in the Congo, this time not by a greedy Belgian monarch, but by one of their own.
We can look at him and see a straight line from King Leopold through to Mobutu, of exploiters who extracted the wealth of the country and used it for their own purposes in a way that didn't benefit the country. One other thing about Mobutu is that he did create unity, but the unity that emerged in the last decades of his rule was unity in opposition, unity in oppression, unity in struggle.
But although internal opposition grew, it would take outside events to finally change things inside the Congo. In 1994, a bloody genocide in neighboring Rwanda had grave consequences for Mobutu. Rwanda's Tutsi tribal force arrived in the Congo in pursuit of their Hutu enemies who were hiding out there. Once in the Congo, like others before them, the Tutsis became lured by the prospect of mineral wealth and decided to stay.
The Rwandans discovered coltan, coltan being the most important mineral we use for all our electronics. So cell phones, computers, video games, Anywhere from 70 to 90% of coltan is found in Congo. So again, here we are. Resources of Congo is still the main obstacle to Congo's knowing peace.
On May 16, 1997, a small group of Congolese rebels, joined by the Rwandan Tutsis, took over the capital and toppled Mobutu. After 32 years as Zaire, the country was renamed the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was neither democratic nor a republic. Instead, at the end of the century, the Congo was as it had been at the beginning of the century, a sad, brutally violent place, controlled by outsiders.
One slogan you heard a lot in your civics class was, "Nous voulons être ce que nous voulons." We want to be what we want to be. We don't want to be what others want us to be. Congo is the classic case where total outside interference just jams every speck of progress. Why can't you let us solve our own issues? Give us a chance. We never got a chance, and I think that's really the sad part. A nation is not born when everybody's trying to stifle it. Give us a chance. Let us breathe.